Hey, everybody. So, today I want to talk to you about this essay that I have. This is just an example essay to show you the different parts and to show you how this works. Okay, so we're going to dissect it, and I've color coded it for you so that you can see how the different parts play together and where they are in the story. Please feel free to jot any notes off in the margins or highlight as you see here for your own purposes in your own notes. Okay, so that being said, um, the first part, the yellow part, these first two paragraphs, these are her story. And you'll notice that her story is a very simple um, dinner event. In fact, it's not even the whole dinner, it's just a specific moment at the dinner with her family and friends. And I would say that all things considered, this event probably was a minute or two of her life that she shares with us right here. So, your story, your event doesn't have to be, you know, 10 years long or an entire day. It could be a simple moment. Her event is simply she's at a dinner party and she tries to pick up some fish balls with her chopsticks, and she can't. And the fish ball goes rolling down the table, and it causes her a great deal of embarrassment. And that's her story. It has nothing to do with school, has nothing to do with academics. It's not a positive story. It's just something that sticks in her brain as something that she learned from, or something that follows her even to this day, that sticks in the back of her brain. Notice the amount of detail that she puts into it. She uses things like alliteration. She says that the little sphere left a telltale trail of sauce. She talks about 10 pairs of eyeballs watched in horror as my precious little fishball squirted out of the side of my sticks and bounced onto the table. I mean, look at that imagery there. That's a perfect example of show, don't tell. You really feel like you're there watching the event unfold right in front of your eyes. It's almost as if you're sitting at the table with her. You even get some examples of her own voice, her own attitude. She talks about how the fish balls are her favorite. She felt clumsy. Okay, the dinner wasn't all that formal, but she was trying to make a good impression. Okay, all of these things tell us about her. Notice also that the story starts in the middle of the action. It doesn't start with everybody gathering around the table, waiting for the food to come out, making small talk. It's already there. It's already happening. She's already reaching for the fishbowl, and it's already squirting out of her chopsticks. Start your story in the middle of the action to make it the most interesting to your reader. Give us some flair, give us some taste of your attitude, and show, don't tell. So that's the event. This is kind of the anchoring piece of the whole story. Then the second part, in green here, is the reflection. It's how it made her feel. How did this event make her feel? Well, she says very clearly that she was completely embarrassed. Okay, her face was getting red. Her father mocked her for being un-Chinese. A woman next to him even joked that she's Chinese and she can't use chopsticks. and the other guests were laughing at her. I mean, this is an embarrassing moment for this young lady. Okay? And so we just spend about a paragraph talking about how it made her feel. How did your event make you feel at that time? Why is it that your event sticks with you even to this day? Sometimes it's because it's embarrassing, sometimes because it made you feel pride. Yeah, I don't know. You tell me, it's your story. Then the rest of this, that's all in red, is her reflection. What did she learn from it? And she talks about, and she gives a ton of examples of her own attitude, her own personality. She says her friends call her Banana Girl because she has yellow skin on the outside and she's white on the inside. Which, if it were anybody else saying that, it would sound really racist, but she's saying this about herself. And she talks about what she means by that. She says that she's becoming Americanized. Okay, she says, nothing wrong with being Americanized, I thought. She says, although I am well adapted to America's culture, I still greatly respect my Chinese traditions. And she talks about her food groups, the hamburgers and pizzas that she loves. And then she goes into talking about those traditions, those values that she's talking about, which uh, relate to her prompt. Her prompt was about heritage, family heritage, and the importance of tradition. So then she goes into detail talking about how this Americanized version of her, which led her to not being able to use chopsticks in her story, to Americanizing her with pizza and hamburgers, how that relates to the rest of this. And she talks about her grandmother's funeral and the ceremony that they did for her grandmother, and how even though it was silly, she still respected it because she understood it. And she talks a little bit about that heritage and those traditions. And then she talks about what it means to her. What does, she's answering the prompt. What does this mean to her? She finds it elegant and comforting. And she's like, I don't think it's weird. I pay respects because I understand that many traditions are not logical. And then at the end, the last paragraph, she ties it into college. Look at what she says here. I am certain that this diverse perspective will not only help me adapt to the challenges of college, but also bring an element of difference and freshness to my future college friendships. So she's telling the college, if you select me, if you take me, this is what I bring to the table. This is how I'm going to make your college environment, your college community better by being there. And then at the very end, she brings it back to the beginning. She ties the end back to her story. And she says, please remember one thing though. If fish balls are ever on the dining hall menu, just hand Banana Girl a fork. And there's that personality, there's that humor, and she ties it back to the chopstick story at the beginning by making a joke that she would have done much better if she had just had a fork. And she even goes back to referencing her nickname that she and her friends call her. So, all throughout the story, you see her personality, you see her answering the prompt about heritage and what it means to her. You see the story about the fish balls and how that made her feel and how that relates to heritage and culture, which is the prompt. And you see that the story itself, the event, is a small fraction of the overall paper, and the response is an overall small part of the paper. And look how much the reflection takes up. Over half, I'd say 2/3 of the essay is her reflection. How did she learn from this event? What did she learn from it? And that's it. Feel free to use the parts guide that I gave you, which is right here. Please use this as your guide